I'm the nearly famous Jeff Anderson. Welcome to One Leg at a Time, your feel-good podcast to inspire you to chase your passions, explore your creativity, and encourage you to be uniquely you. Welcome to One Leg at a Time. I'm your host, the nearly famous Jeff Anderson. I'm a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll. This is your feel-good friendly podcast to inspire you to chase your passions, explore your creativity, grow as a professional, and where we always encourage you to be uniquely you. Unless you can be Batman, then be Batman. No, you are enough. But Batman would be pretty cool too. The show will be inspirational, educational, and whatever. Just never plain null. We'll mix things up a little. Sometimes we'll have guests, authors, creators, entrepreneurs, and always genuinely good people. Other times it'll be a solo show like today. But it'll always be a good time and a great investment. Today I want to share with you 4 or 5 lessons from an 11-year-old that I believe will remind you how great everyday you really is. Really are. Really be. Let's jump in. It was the summer before my 12th birthday. I was 11 years old, transitioning from elementary school to junior high. Now, for those of you who don't know, junior high school is comprised of the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Some of these 9th graders were driving, and I was a little bit nervous about going to school with grown men who weren't teachers. I also realized I was no longer a child. Now, up until this point in my life, I had been a victim. Mostly a victim of circumstance. I tried to stay away from a victim mentality. But at the same time, there was so much about life that I hated. In my experience, elementary school was a place that dreamers went to get crushed. If you're an elementary school teacher, it's no reflection on you. So I had several things working against me. Number one, my mom cut my hair. And there were 2 things wrong with that. Number one, I could not be still. And number 2, my mother could not cut hair. Like, I looked like the Dutch boy and Chucky had a love child. That's the way my hair looked. It was not a good experience. I was getting taller, and yet still remained at my original weight of 7 pounds, 8 ounces. My teeth were horribly bucked, and it looked like my mom had an affair with Mr. Ed. So it was not good to begin with. It was, the bullies had a lot to work with. Let's just say that. So, and apparently I was born with this unfortunate birthmark on my back in the shape of a target that only bullies could see. And they came from the tri-state area. It was amazing how many people I made happy by allowing them to bully me. So I decided this summer, I'm 11 years old, before my 12th birthday, I'm about to go into junior high. So this proverbial cloud, this scary place. It wasn't quite Alcatraz, but to an 11-year-old with an imagination, it was not going to be good. So I decided that year things would never be the same. I had earlier that year I started boxing at the Red Shields Boxing Club. I bought my first weight set and began working out. But nothing really changed on the outside. What changed was I decided within myself I would never be bullied again. The other thing I did, I practiced my autograph because I was definitely going to need to be signing autographs soon. Now, later that would morph into my signature, but at 11, it was my autograph, and I was practicing. This was the summer where I went into my proverbial cocoon, and I was going to exit that cocoon an entirely new creature. I watched the Rocky training montage about 900 times that summer. I just knew things were going to be different. So I decided I would not be just another number, just another face in the crowd. I was going to be like no one else. And to prove it to myself, I spent that entire summer doing one thing that no mere mortal apparently can do. I practiced jumping into the air and into my pants, both legs, at the same time. That's right, I was not going to put my pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. That seemed to be the common denominator when someone was in wow or in awe of someone else. They would say, hey, slow down. He puts his pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. And I decided that was, they were not going to be able to say that about me. It's on. There's the challenge. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever tried it, but jumping into the air was easy. Getting my feet to hit those Levi 501 leg holes wasn't difficult either. But you'd be surprised just how resilient denim can be. Those red tab trousers grabbed me by my ankles and slammed my face into the out-of-date army green shag carpet with the momentum of some science fiction vortex that can only be described by someone who did not suffer the damn near concussions that I suffered the summer of 1982. My magic years were upon me. Now I'd like to share a couple of lessons that I learned that summer, and maybe you could glean something from an 11-year-old boy. Number one, you can put your pants on one leg at a time like everyone else and still be uniquely you. You are too awesome for average. No one excels at everything. My mother was so impressed with one of my friends who was a brain surgeon. And I had to tell her, he can't work on cars. Like, he's not smart at everything. Like, he went to school for this one thing and they trained him in that one area. So even though we say, well, it's not brain surgery, well, even brain surgeons are taught about brain surgery. That doesn't mean, okay, they're slightly smarter than everyone else, but please, I think you get the point. There are a ton of things that only you can do in a way that only you do it. Picasso taught us that you don't have to do things like everyone else in order for others to find value in what you do. My grandmother was amazing. She had nothing to offer us but who she was. And to us grandkids, there was no one like her. It wasn't anything she did so much. It was just because of who she was. And I think we had a sense that she was sharing a piece of who she was with us. We'd beg her to tell us a story, and her stories almost always made us cry. But in the end, we were celebrating and okay, maybe crying some tears of joy, but that lady who grew up before television during the Depression with nothing passed something on to me that I've used for the last 30 years to make a living. Do you see the impact? I've been able to bless my family and live my dream because my grandmother gave selflessly to me. She taught me the impact of stories and how to tell stories. She never sat down and said, you start here and you got to build these characters and they've got to suffer some sort of opposition and then they overcome because some sage steps in and help. No. She just told stories. And we waited with bated breath as she worked through the characters. Again, they were almost always sad, but that's what growing up in the Depression does for you. But again, happy endings. So number one, you can put your pants on one leg at a time like everyone else and still be uniquely you. Number two, you are the most amazing you that I will ever meet. The idea that you are enough and yet you want to be more, those don't have to run in opposition of each other. Both of those can be true, and they can run parallel tracks to who you are and who you are going to be. Muhammad Ali said, the man who views the world at 50 the same way he did at 30 the same way he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. And I could adapt that and say the person who is the same person at 50 as they were at 20 has wasted 30 years of their life. We are constantly growing. Life in all the areas that we experience it teaches us little things every day, shapes us, molds us. And you're the most amazing you that I could possibly ever meet. Number 3, what you do with your alone time may matter more than what you do come showtime. Think about it. I would be 12 when school started. And it was a day before streaming, and there was a day before social media, and who would know my morning routine stylistics? No one would know whether or not I'm putting my pants on one leg at a time or both legs at a time, or no one would know except for me. And so the fact that I understood that I didn't want to be like everyone else, the fact that I understood that I didn't want to be like me, I didn't want to be the same kid in junior high that I was in elementary school. And what I determined within myself, the messages that I began to tell myself, and the messages that you tell yourself matter. They make an impact. They have a direct impact. Your private promises to yourself matter. And we should probably talk more about that later. But today, just know self-talk, how you talk to yourself, the things that you allow your brain to rehearse, the movies that you play in the middle of your mind, what consumes your thoughts make a difference in how you see yourself and the world you live in. So self-care matters. Private promises make a difference. Number 4, when your shrink-to-fit Levi's have refused to cooperate with your Summer of Jeff plans, pick yourself up. Put your pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. Ice your face. Grin, and remind the world in a whisper, you won this time, but you can't beat me. Wisdom wins over blind ambition every time. Know when to pivot and win. My life is incredible. My ability to land on both feet in my pants wasn't consistent enough to warrant the beating that my face was taking, but the lessons were worth it all. As for the promises I made to myself that specific summer, I've learned that bullies come in all shapes and sizes, and you can't stop a bully from bullying. I can only choose to respond differently to the bullies. I realize that people who bully, they're not happy people. Listen, they want what you have. Your joy and your enthusiasm and your spark and your spunk convicts them. And so, not being able to outshine you, they try to put your light out. And one thing I've learned is that I don't have to put anyone else's lights out to make mine shine. I just shine. I just want to shine. Maybe I don't always shine, but I certainly want to shine. And if you're shining and I'm shining, hey, we're just in an awesome, bright room, right? We're ready to light the way for others. So I found that often these people are just insecure, so maybe we can decide to be extra nice to them. They act the way they act based on who they are. And we respond the way we respond based on who we are. And we are world shapers, you and I. Today, you have the power to affect change, to help someone smile, to share the knowledge that you've gained and the experiences that only you have. John Mason said, "You were born an original. Don't die a copy. I hope that you'll be part of my tribe, one of those who may put their pants on one leg at a time, but as they do, they whisper to themselves, I may put my pants on like most everyone else, but out of the 7 billion people on this planet, I am the only me. And that's all I need to be. Okay, maybe that's a lot to whisper. So if you can't remember that, remember this quote by Haley Steinfeld that says, it needs to be said and heard, it's okay to be who you are. And I'll add, even if you put your pants on one leg at a time. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to tune in next week for more inspirational fun. Meanwhile, please subscribe, share the love, tell everyone you know about One Leg at a Time.